Part 2. Your original comment, the we part of it, leads to the assumption that you are shouldering part of the blame for having not prevented her cheating. That's not the case at all. By saying we, I'm referring to what all couples do for partners with medical or mental health issues. Watch them for symptoms and help get them treatment. She showed symptoms back then, and had we known it, we could have addressed it like we do now. That's just a statement of fact. Can't be responsible for something I didn't know about. And also, people keep talking about her having another affair and using BPD as an excuse. She had undiagnosed BPD during her affairs. She did not process emotions and thoughts properly and had no tools to help her understand that. To her, the thoughts and emotions she had at the time were real to her. Now she has been diagnosed, she has the tools to process those thoughts and feelings. So, for her to have another affair would mean that she decided not to use those tools, or it was not BPD related. In either case, it wouldn't be due to BPD, and odds are, I'd probably already be gone as she stopped treating her BPD. Your wayward wife hasn't cheated for 9 years. As I said before, we moved to a farm over an hour and a half away from her friends. She isolated herself and rarely left the house. When it comes to work, she works for my business and either works from home or is monitored by GPS for the client. She was still having feelings, but there was no opportunity that wouldn't raise suspicions. And when she was at home, she would sleep all the time. She never went out, and she drastically reduced her drinking. My best friend moved to Michigan. The guy she had the longest affair with moved to Texas. And I keep repeating myself here, but she made the decision to cheat. That's on her. Her BPD didn't stop her from considering a divorce, talking to me, or just ignoring the urge. That was her decision, and she is solely responsible for that decision. I blame the BPD for the emotions that put her in that position. The feeling of abandonment, the feeling that I hated her and didn't love her anymore. Those were feelings created by the BPD. I can blame the disease for her feelings and emotions at the time. I can also blame her for acting on those feelings. They are not mutually exclusive. Understanding her feelings at the time does not mean I excuse her actions. It means I understand how she came to that point. The affairs for her weren't about the sex. She did that to keep them around. The affairs were to feel attention from someone, to lose the feeling of abandonment. The sex for her was unfulfilling, and she never reached an orgasm. It was solely about them, like payment for their time. There was no thrills or foreplay, it was straight to the point. Now that she has a treatment plan and she can recognize when her brain is playing games with her emotions, she has the tools to address episodes. She knows to start using DBT to help her focus. She knows to talk to me about her feelings. I know to listen and give reassurance. Mechanisms to help her stay focused on reality and not her fear. This isn't being a jailer, dad figure, because it's not being authorities. It's being a partner who helps her with her treatment. If I see her having an episode, I just ask if she's alright. If she's not, she knows that I'm there to listen to her. She still makes her own decisions freely. Whether she wants to talk or not is up to her. In order to help people, we need to listen to them. And I feel like I'm repeating myself because people are skimming my posts and cherry-picking details to respond to. Yet many posters here have detected an odor infused throughout the entirety of all of your posts, of a sort of overreach, an easy quickness to place the blame for the cheating in the lap of the absent third-party defendant. The diabolic ex machina, it was the BPD talking. It's a psychological device you seem to resort to in order to convince yourself of something along the lines of your wayward wife not being responsible for all of the trauma and emasculation and sexual humiliation you would legitimately be feeling as a betrayed man, with awful facts like a three-way long-term betrayal between your wayward wife, your best friend, and his wife, carried on in front of your face over an extended period of time. Let me simplify this. My wife had feelings of abandonment fed by feelings like she was not shown love or attention. She mentally blocked all the times I took her out, bought her flowers or chocolates, cooked her special meals, or sat and cuddled with her on the couch to watch TV together. This is called splitting, a symptom of borderline personality disorder where they only see the bad side of a person and cannot recognize the good side. It's either all good or all bad. This was the BPD talking which made her susceptible to infidelity. This isn't my opinion. This was pointed out by our therapists. Thus, was highlighted in every text written about people who suffer from BPD. I blame her BPD for her emotions at the time of the affair. The affairs themselves, as I've already mentioned, was her choice. Even though she was having all those feelings caused by the BPD, she had options available to her. She could have talked to me, she could have seen a therapist, she could have asked for a divorce, etc. She chose to have an affair. That was her decision. As I've said, the two are not mutually exclusive. She can have BPD influence her feelings and still make the choice to cheat of her own free will. I go back to my fundamental question. In response to her, I never cheated since the last time I cheated. Have those intervening years been the marriage of your dreams? As I've mentioned before, at the time I was unaware of her newer affairs when we moved. And those last 9 years, she was still undiagnosed. We moved because I wanted to get out of the city, not because of her infidelity. And our marriage would not improve over those 9 years because she was still undiagnosed. She was living in her own mental gulag that I was unaware of. If not, is this really the life you want? White-knuckling it in isolation with a wife who treats you mainly as a free and home care provider, or occasional scuba companion. Seriously, is the marriage fulfilling to you as a man right now? If her affairs hadn't happened and she was diagnosed early, I'd still have to help her with her condition. No different than marrying someone with any other disease or health condition. Her condition will be there no matter what. But I think you have the wrong idea of what it takes to be a man. Treating my wife like a prostitute who sexually satisfies my every whim isn't being a man. Again, I have already said sex with her is satisfying. Being a real man is not cutting and running because something is hard, or something is wrong with her. We've been facing her condition unknowingly for 24 years. Now we know she has these diagnoses, we can deal with it. And, as I've already said several times now, since we learned about her condition and how to treat it, our relationship has gotten a lot better. Right now, the focus of the relationship is squarely on your wife and not you. And seeing a therapist twice a month and a marriage therapist twice a month. My wife answers all questions, day or night. She gives me all the gory details. She provided me names, places, dates as best as she could remember them. She has explained her feelings about how and why it happened. When I get angry, she takes it. When I'm sad, she's consoling. If she remembers things later, she tells me. She's made sure all APs are blocked and gone from every social media platform. We've spent countless hours talking about what happened. I've seen and had access to all her accounts, emails and messages. She turns on location tracking for me even though I've never asked her to. She asks me if I'm okay several times a day. Or if she goes out to run an errand, she offers to Facebook Messenger on video. She goes with me whenever I leave the house to spend time with me. So no, it's not solely about her. It's just what everyone wants to talk about. I came here to vent and to get some feedback on processing my emotions because I'm angry and down all the time. Since I don't have friends to talk to because I isolated myself and because I don't want to discuss this with family because they are old school and judgmental. I came here to help work on me. Is that how it's done? A few sessions with any licensed therapist, and something as huge as BPD can be diagnosed. What were you expecting? A biopsy, a Rorschach test, a multiple choice exam. BPD does not have any lab tests that tell you if you have it. You have to be interviewed by a licensed therapist who has to go over lifetime symptoms, family history, medical history, etc. Then they have to see if you have 5 of the 9 markers of BPD from the DSM. She was diagnosed by 3 different therapists, having 9 of markers each time. Then I guess most cheaters have BPD, because what you've described, a spouse vilifying their spouse and only seeing the negatives instead of reality, is an extremely common trait most cheaters share. There is a difference between choosing to ignore the good things in your marriage and your brain telling you those good things don't exist. There is a difference between cheating because you get lonely, horny or unhappy and because your brain is telling you constantly that you're being abandoned. A difference between cheating looking for happiness and cheating out of fear. BPD makes people live in fear by believing their worst reality exists even when it doesn't. That's not what most cheaters go through. Comment. I know you've been frustrated that some have cherry-picked what they read and then are focusing only on the fact that they believe that BPD doesn't excuse her behavior, and therefore you should I want you to know that I, as I know many here have, had read each of your posts several times, looking for an understanding of what you need right now. Sure, if it's just venting, we are glad to let you write a series of prose expounding on your feelings and sit back and let you get it all out of your system. But if you weren't looking for feedback, I suspect you'd journal instead of send your thoughts to a system that has hundreds of active responders who have suffered similar experiences in pain such as yours. They have also seen many a suffering soul not knowing what they are looking for but needing help in finding the path that helps them relieve their pain over time. But you also said you want feedback on the emotions you are feeling. You've said it a few times and it's a good thing to seek. I'd love to engage in that discussion with you and I've seen many here help with such a give and take on that time and time again. When you first said it, I tried to go back and pull from each comment you made the essence of what you are feeling, the nature of the pain you are experiencing, and see what we can do to drill down on the root causes of where it was coming from. As you saw, what I inferred, correctly or not, was that while even if she is doing everything, she can to fix what is broken within her, and you feel it's important that she does so, and you help her to do that. You still don't know how to rebuild the marriage and find happiness with the emotions you are feeling about what she did. So, I tried to find what was missing. What you weren't saying was being done. You say you are working on those emotions and I see an MC but still weren't seeing a path back, and lacked any other feedback outside professionals about it. So, when I really thought about it, what I wrote above is what I felt was missing from what I was reading in your posts. Because as a former BS and reading hundreds of threads about BSs who succeed and fail at rebuilding with their cheating partners, I find there are some critical aspects as to whether or not infidelity will destroy a relationship or will have a chance to recover. With that in mind, I look at what you just wrote back to me. The list of things she is doing with respect to you and showing that this process is not all one-sided and focused on her. Here are my thoughts. These are really good things for her to be doing. They absolutely must be elements of any work that a cheating spouse undertakes if they want a chance to save and create a new relationship with their emotionally injured partner. And that list is an excellent start to making you feel safe that she is not cheating anymore. Unfortunately, these actions will need to be lifelong endeavors if she is going to regain your trust again, that she won't betray you with another man during the decades to come. It's part of that recipe along with learning how to handle her disease. Because when you gave her that trust unconditionally in the past, she fails time again. Some might say that these actions you list show love in addition to making you feel safe. And perhaps they do to an extent. But to me they would better exhibit love if they were done before she chose infidelity instead of after, as now. They are basically seen as doing the minimum to just be allowed to stay in the relationship and try and work on it. A last resort, if you will. So yes, it's good, even great, that she's doing them. And if she wasn't, we wouldn't probably be discussing any other aspects of the relationship, as you would have chosen to separate and go your separate ways. But she is doing them, and that is good. But obviously those things aren't enough to ease the pain you are feeling and those understandably strong and difficult emotions you are having. One answer is that it takes time and consistent and persistent continuation of those actions she is taking. That's how she shows she is all in and changed who she has been. How she proves she is fixing what is broken in her and dealing with the issues she has when she arises. But from what you write, I'm sensing that is not enough. We are glad to discuss with you what you are missing. Explain it to us. As I've said, I'm weary about talking about her BPD and what you are both doing to stay on top of it. You've shown you are weary of this too. So, let's assume she is going to do all the right work with her therapist and you on this. She's going to take helpful RXs that keep her harmful thoughts in check. What then? What then do you need? I know what I would need, and I will tell you. But please, chime in and discuss it with us. I would need 4 things. And everyone is different, so please don't jump down my throat if I get one or all of them wrong. I'm just trying to help here. First, I would need proof that she hasn't given her heart away to one of these other men. I wrote about it above and you didn't acknowledge it. But she absolutely stated she loved the coworker and wanted to leave you for him. And the reason she didn't wasn't the love she had for you, it was fear of losing her kids. Do you know that she's still not pining away for him after all these years? Is he the one that got away? She didn't stop her cheating because of her feeling of love for you. As I said above, it was because of the heartbreak of losing someone time and time again. Where in the work she has done do you hear her say that she no longer loves that man? I know it's been years, but such love has been known to last decades. You said you crave hurting him and the other APs. Does she say she's more than willing assist with that? Even if you never would go through with something like that, it would be good to hear that she'd support you. Was he married at the time? If so, is he still? I'm just saying. Or is she still protecting him and his place in her heart? If so, I couldn't stay. You may be able to. I couldn't. I am better off without a partner that pines away for a lost love than with one who sees me as plan B, which is it here. That's what she'd have to prove to me. The second aspect to me would be desire and risk. She lived a life of both for a long time. This wasn't a single one-night stand. This was a sustained campaign of infidelity. Now you don't have to restate the reasons here. I told you last post. I believe you. You don't have to convince me. But no matter what the reason she did it, it leaves a hole in your soul. She put out, quite succinctly, she gave away some of the best parts of being in love. She gave away affection that you expected. And she did it in exciting and risky ways. These men benefited from her behavior. You absolutely did not. If you are feeling pain over her infidelity, this is a major part of it. You can deny and deflect it all you want. But if you're human, it's painful. She had sex in back of cars in parking lots, had hookups with a young soccer coach, and then gave knowing looks to him while you and she watched your child play for him. Pretended she was arm candy for your best friend. And years later participated in a lurid threesome with him after she knew how painful it was for you to endure the first time. You know all this. You'll say, you're just piling on. but I say it to convince you that these are some of the things that are causing those awful emotions you are suffering from. And I'm still convinced that hole in your heart won't begin to close, if that's what you truly want, until you actually feel your wife on your side of things in this battle. Not until she stands by your side and says, I'm in pain over this too. And I know some here disagree, and that is their prerogative, but I think she has to show you that she will go to greater lengths to be with you than she did with her APs. Not by performing the same acts with you, as that would be triggering. But if she truly wants to be with you, and we'll discuss that more in a minute, then she will not just do the things you listed in your post above. No, she will do all that and more. It's not the only thing necessary in a rebuilding plan. It's not even the most important one. But to me, it is an important one. I would need it. You said she withheld affection from you for years. I would need expressions of intimacy beyond normal husband-wife lovemaking. I would need creative expressions of excitement. She got that. Her APs definitely got that. You absolutely did not. And without it, I don't believe I could exist in the relationship. I'd need more than that, for sure. But to me it would be a key component to her showing me that I am the one, through all her searching and test driving, that she truly desires. If she cannot, then I'd wish her well in her recovery from BPD and let her know I support her in it, but not as her husband. Which thirdly again brings me back to love. Above, I asked if she still lives the coworker AP. And honestly, I still believe she does. But separate from that, if she can convince you otherwise and that she now despises him and what he helped her do to you, my question would be if I were in your shoes. Does she love you? Are you the true love of her life? How can she prove it? My friend, when you listed the items she now does, the word love was nowhere to be found there. Has she said it? Has she shown it? How? Do you feel it? Do you believe it? When I said the focus in the marriage needed to turn to you, this is what I meant. As I said above, the actions you listed are good and important. But if she cannot honestly say she loves you, what difference does it make? Maybe you could stay if she doesn't. But I could not. I could maybe be her friend. Again, sure, help her with her BPD, but no longer give your heart to someone that doesn't give it in return. You've suffered for a long time. You have been lied to all along. You deserve a loving partner. I'd need her to in a sustained way prove that she actually feels that love. She said it about the AP. When has she last said it about you and you were convinced? And while being in love can change over the length of any relationship, I'd need her to convince me that she is in love with me and only me and no one else. Which brings me to the fourth and last item of importance to me. Empathy. I alluded to it above. I would need her to feel the pain she caused me as much as I feel it. This is a hard one. I know, no one can feel what you are feeling. But I would need to know that she feels awful about her infidelity, not because of what it said about her, and not because what she lost, and not because of how people perceived her, but above all, how it impacted me. That it actually emotionally and pains her to know that it was her actions that injured you so. And because of that, she not only will do the things above, but she will seek you out to talk about aspects of what she did and apologize specifically for them and predict when they might trigger you and proactively take steps to get on top of them. It's absolutely not enough to ask, are you okay 3 times a day? That's fine to do, but without saying something like, hey, I brought us coffee, let's sit down and talk about what I did to you when I cheated with the soccer coach. I was a piece of SHT and so was he. And that time I stood next to him after I blew him in his office before the game and let you cheer for him and his team. That was disgusting. And I can't out of my head. I'm so sorry. Please let me know how it made you feel. I'm here for you through it as long as you'll let me. You really have no feeling of support from her on this without her initiating these kind of conversations. It's not just reacting when she sees you low or when you ask to discuss something. It's taking your side throughout it because there is no other side. There is no justification. I got so angry when she disagreed with you about your ex-friend's motivation for the threesome. She absolutely wrong if she thinks it was for anyone but him. He got to watch 2 chicks have sex, and then they absolutely both turned their attention to him, as he planned. She was completely used for his pleasure. Does she know how devastating that is for a husband to know? And the fact that she disagreed showed how much wayward thinking she still has. If she still disagrees, I'm not sure she's cut out to be empathetic. I think she couldn't bear the thought of what it really meant. And I'd honestly would question myself if I were you if I could stay with such a person, no matter how well she learns to handle her BPD. And those are the 4 things. I would love to hear which of these are not the emotions you are struggling with. Maybe you found something in what I wrote that clicked with what you are feeling. Maybe it sparked another thought. If so, I'd love to discuss. So would others here. Tell us what you think. Or maybe none of it matched. If that is the case, tell us. But describe the emotions you are feeling. I know your WW reads here. Perhaps these comments can spark discussion between you. I hope it helps you as well. I want to help like everyone here does, but help us understand what you need. I'm glad to be of assistance, but if I'm not helping, let me know and I'll move on and spend my time elsewhere. It does take time to put these thoughts together, and I don't want to take time away from other endeavors if it hasn't been helpful to you to have me here. I wish you well. Original poster, Steven, thanks for the post. Let me respond to a few points you brought up. You say you are working on those emotions, and I see an MC but still weren't seeing a path back, and lacked any other feedback outside professionals about it. You're accurate here. There is a lack of connection with the therapists insomuch as the emotional aspects of what happened. To them, we're just another client they analyze using the knowledge, education, and experience they have in their field. They have the technical side down on why our brains do what they do. It's helpful and the tools work, but I'm not getting the emotional feedback from it. We're still strangers to them. Talking to family and friends who know us both could be more beneficial, but it could be just as detrimental. It could split people into sides, feelings of embarrassment and shame, people treating us differently, etc. So, she suggested I go to a forum where people don't know us, but they know how we felt. And that was when I saw that most of the material on betrayed spouses was aimed towards betrayed wives, and there was little support material specifically on betrayed men with partners with diagnosed personality disorders. I once read survivors of infidelity are all weathering the same storm at sea. We are all just in different types of boats. I'm just trying to find someone with a similar boat. First, I would need proof that she hasn't given her heart away to one of these other men. I wrote about it above and you didn't acknowledge it, but she absolutely stated she loved the coworker and wanted to leave you for him. And the reason she didn't wasn't the love she had for you, it was fear of losing her kids. It's hard to prove, though, isn't it? She says she no longer has feelings for him. They haven't spoken since 2014, and since I was unaware of him, there was no reason to stop talking to him. She also says that she felt she was in love with him, but thinks it was more about the fairy tale of being with someone who gave her the attention she thought she wasn't getting from me. Ironically, he ended up marrying a woman with the same first name and physical characteristics as my wife a few years later. I have a different theory, one she disagrees with. I think she had a thing for him because he shared many characteristics of my best friend. They were both tall, both wanted to be cops, same hairstyle, similar taste in music, similar taste in cars, similar style of clothing, similar behaviors, etc. They even look similar. And for me, that's a problem. The best friend was in our lives for over 20 years. The only lie on D-Day was when she said there was nothing else but confessed to the threesome the next day. The most emotional reactions were regarding him. She says it's because she ruined my relationship with my best, closest friend. If he was truly my best friend, he wouldn't have called her and invited her to be in a threesome. No, she was upset because she had feelings for him, which she denied until she found a journal entry she wrote in 2003 saying she did. When she read it, all these emotions ran through her, and she felt like SHT and apologized. Her feelings towards him were strong. I think love, she says, just as a close friend. He moved over 1K miles away a few years ago, but since D-Day, he has been removed and blocked on all social media accounts and phones. She told him not to contact her again, and I also had a few words with him about it. But this is the one that hurts the most and I have the biggest issues with. And I know some here disagree, and that is their prerogative, but I think she has to show you that she will go to greater lengths to be with you than she did with her APs. Not by performing the same acts with you, as that would be triggering. But if she truly wants to be with you, and we'll discuss that more in a minute, then she will not just do the things you listed in your post above. No, she will do all that and more. It's not the only thing necessary in a rebuilding plan. It's not even the most important one. But to me, it is an important one. I would need it. You said she withheld affection from you for years. I would need expressions of intimacy beyond normal husband-wife lovemaking. I would need creative expressions of excitement. She got that. Her APs definitely got that. You absolutely did not. Since D-Day we've talked constantly. One of the reasons it was surprising was my wife's lack of interest in sex throughout our marriage. But she was not interested in sex with them either. It was something she felt was expected as a part of the attention they gave her. It was transnational in nature. When she started talking to me after D-Day, she finally discloses the details of her sexual assault when she was a child. I knew it happened, she told me before, but never the details, and I never pushed to know. But it wasn't a one-time thing. It lasted 2 years to someone who wasn't even a teenager. And I find out that some of the intimate acts I enjoy were forced upon her, and that's why she wouldn't do them for her APs either. But the sexual abuse also stopped her from seeing sex as an act of love. Since D-Day and her disclosure of her history, she has been working hard to overcome those past traumas. We've been intimate more often. We've had to find ways around triggering her past traumas. She has also admitted that she's forced herself to do things lately as a means to punish herself, which I had to tell her not to do because the negativity creates resentment, and that intimacy should not be used as punishment. But the frequency of intimacy has been wonderful lately, and the only issue I'm having is she still doesn't initiate as much as I'd like. I feel like she has to relearn that sex and intimacy are intertwined. This is something she has to work on. My friend, when you listed the items she now does, the word love was nowhere to be found there. Has she said it? Has she shown it? How? Do you feel it? Do you believe it? She says it non-stop. She's wakened me up to say it. But herein lies another problem with BPD, being clingy. The opposite to the all-bad side of splitting is the all-good side. I want to believe what she is saying is how she feels, but there is a part that wonders if that's the needy side of her BPD talking. Is she saying it because she truly means it? Is she overcompensating because her BPD is telling her I might leave, or is she feeling guilty and remorseful to the point where she feels she can never say it enough? I don't know. This is one of the reasons why her BPD treatment is a primary concern for me. I don't want to argue with her crazy. I want to argue with her. If I don't know if I'm dealing with her or her BPD, it makes healing almost impossible. That's why I'm doing it backwards, focusing on her mental health first. I need to know what I'm fighting for, and I don't know if she's not better. I need to know what I'm angry with. I need to understand how we got to this point. None of that can happen until we get her straight first. That's why therapy had been so important. It removes the haze and gives me a better understanding of why it wasn't my fault, and that I couldn't have done anything about it. People don't get that I can't heal me until she gets help first, because that's the only way I get answers. Which brings me to the fourth and last item of importance to me. Empathy. I alluded to it above. I would need her to feel the pain she caused me as much as I feel it. This is a hard one. I know, no one can feel what you are feeling. But I would need to know that she feels awful about her infidelity, not because of what it said about her, and not because what she lost, and not because of how people perceived her, but above all, how it impacted me. One of the first things I told her after D-Day was a part of me wanted her to hurt as bad as me. I wanted her to feel as bad as I do. I think she does. When she describes how I hurt to our therapist, she starts to cry. When she talks about holding me when I'm having nightmares, she says it hurts knowing she caused all this pain. She cries herself to sleep sometimes after I've had bad days. The fact she is willing to endure any punishment I give her, and has offered to do all of the things I said I wanted out of anger, shows she cares more about my pain than hers. I got so angry when she disagreed with you about your ex-friend's motivation for the threesome. She absolutely wrong if she thinks it was for anyone but him. He got to watch two chicks have sex, and then they absolutely both turned their attention to him, as he planned. She was completely used for his pleasure. Does she know how devastating that is for a husband to know? Thanks for the validation of my feelings on this one. It was an area of contention. Not sure if she disagrees because she is in denial of the truth or is still defending him. It's something she has to figure out and tell me. And those are the four things. I would love to hear which of these are not the emotions you are struggling with. Maybe you found something in what I wrote that clicked with what you are feeling. Maybe it sparked another thought. If so, I'd love to discuss. So would others here. Tell us what you think. Those are a pretty solid 4. Here is where I am at. 1. I want to be angry with her cheating, but there is a legitimate reason for her to have had those irrational emotions she was feeling. My feelings of her betrayal are just as legitimate. How do I be angry without feeling like SHT for being angry at someone who was emotionally unstable? How do you separate the act of cheating from the mental health issue that made her susceptible to cheat? 2. How do you deal with the emotions of knowing her affair partners get out of this without consequences? We're going to be dealing with this emotional roller coaster for a long time. The intrusive thoughts, the grief, the loss. But they continue on like nothing happened. I'm going to have a sleepless night. They'll be out like a light. It's not right. 3. How do you deal with the emasculation of the affair, and the second emasculation of knowing you have the power to hurt the APs but decide not to? 4. How do you not let it consume you? Every day I see reminders, songs, movies, Facebook memories, sometimes bringing them up in conversation without knowing what's going on, etc. 5. How do you deal with the frustration of not knowing what you're feeling or needing? 6. Who should you tell? Who can you tell? How do you not ruin relationships by telling them something so devastating? How can anyone see past this when you confide to them? There are a range of emotions I have, I'm assuming similar to those without BPD spouses. I know I have unique challenges to address, but how about the normal ones?